And so we have little clues here from this message, we have little clues there from that message, and then we assume the rest by extrapolation, and we try to engage supernatural things without full comprehension of how the entire system works. And so at the end of the day, it's a gamble. You try it, sometimes it works, other times it doesn't. And then the times it doesn't work, we blame it over so many spiritual things. For example, we say maybe it's not yet the will of God, or maybe it's not yet the timing, or maybe I did it. So there's too many maybes that we are always in the dark. We are not sure, we are not guaranteed on how to handle these things. The priests of Nob were holy men. But there was an iniquity in the previous generation that a verdict was released from heaven over them. And those verdicts were not addressed. Those curses were not addressed. And they were simply serving God in holiness, serving God in truth, serving God faithfully. And most of them probably were not even aware that there is a curse hanging over them, because everything was going on fine. And you see the problem with curses. Curses usually don't become active in the generation where people are aware of it. Because if it activates, people will remember immediately and say, hey, is this thing that happened some days ago? This is the effect now. And people will get up and find solution. No, curses don't work like that. Curses will wait for the original generation to die. The next one will die. The next one will die. Then a new generation that have even relocated from the original location to the city, and you are busy living your life, having a good career in Nairobi. Then one day, weird things will start happening. The more you try harder, the more you fail. The more you try harder, the more it goes worse. Then when you start fasting and prayer, then it becomes more worse. Then you hear somebody just die mysteriously. Then people are asking, why? Why will a good Christian like this, why will a prayerful person like this just die anyhow? Satan will want to use that method to break people's heart, so that people will no longer be willing to pray. They will not have confidence in God. And you will not know that there is a mystery that the person is clueless about. Let me tell you how this story ends because of my time. In the days of David, this is now a thriving city. A city of priests, holy men, serving God genuinely. Then David was running away from his life, for his life, because Saul was hunting him. And when David was running, he ran to this city and met the high priest at the time. His name is Ahimelech. And he told him, is there any food? Me and my men are hungry. And the priest told him, well, the only food available is the showbread. And it's only meant for priests. But if you are a man and you have not been with a woman, you can eat. And David said, we have been laboring in the forest for the past how many weeks? None of us have been with our wives. They now gave them the earth. And David now said, it's my boss that actually sent me, and I left in a hurry because the king's business required haste. Do you have any spare machete or something around? Because I didn't carry any arm. Then Ahimelech said, Goliath that you killed that time, his sword is here. David said, bring it. There's no sword like it. David collected it. While all these things were happening, one of King Saul's headsmen was around, seeing everything going on. And after David gave him all those things, the headsman of Saul brought intelligence to Saul and told him, sir, I saw David with Ahimelech in the city of the priests at Nob. He gave him food. He even gave him Goliath's sword. And this was a time that Saul was hunting David. Do you know what happened? Saul tracked David there. Before he arrived, David has escaped. Saul says, so all of you, You are on the side of my enemy. He now commanded his armies to slaughter the people. They refused. And then this headsman, who is not an Israelite, happily to consolidate his position with his boss, he volunteered. That was how all these priests serving God in humility is not an enemy. It's the king that slaughtered all of them. Only one boy escaped that day. That is Abiathar. Abiathar escaped and followed David throughout David's problems until David became king. The moment David sat on the throne, David made Abiathar the high priest. His ministry blew. No problem. Everything went on well until David became very old. Now, when Abiathar ran and escaped from the slaughter of the priests, he was a little boy while David was already an adult. Are you following the story? By the time David had become very old and died at age 70, Abiathar was in the prime of his calling and ministry as a priest. But because there was a curse traveling on his bloodline, on his family, one single mistake, Abiathar went and joined hands with Adonijah when Adonijah was trying to usurp the throne. And let's face the facts. According to the law of God, the right of the firstborn belongs to the oldest son in the family. That is what the law of God stipulates from the wilderness experience where God was giving them laws. Now, the first son was Amnon. He was hacked down because he raped Absalom's younger sister. The next heir apparent became Absalom. Absalom went into a coup with his father and died in that battle. So the next person that was in line to the throne is Adonijah. Are you following me? And according to scriptures, it is binding on priests to keep the law. The priests are the custodians of the law. And the law says the firstborn's right goes to the oldest son. Are you following? All that Abiathar did was in consistency with the law. By lining up with Adonijah, even though God has chosen Solomon. That was all Abiathar did. And because of that thing, when Solomon sat on the throne, he would have executed Abiathar, but he told him, you suffered with my dad through his days of wandering. You went through thick and thin with him. I would have executed you because of this treason. But because of what you did for my father, I will spare your life. But I am now retiring you compulsorily. You are expelled. You are sacked. You are fired. Many of you don't understand the implication. Remember that priests don't originally have inheritance. It's the rest tribes that have inheritance. Priests don't have inheritance by law. So priests only survives and live off on the offerings that the people bring because God is their inheritance. So if you are not having a status of priesthood, you don't have a life. So being sacked is equivalent to death. And by the time Abiathar was fired, what was the commentary? The commentary was that it may be fulfilled the judgment God pronounced on their grandfather, Eli. So, just in case your ministry is growing, your career is growing, and you did not check what is in your family bloodline, a curse might be flying over your life with legitimate claims, and you are not aware because everything seems to be okay now, and it's just waiting for you to make one wrong move, and it is over. And it could be a wrong move others have made that there is no problem until your own time comes. Are you following me this morning? If you check what Amnon did, Amnon originally had a lust, but his willpower was able to withstand the lust. He overcame the lust. He was managing the lust, and he could have done well eventually, if not that there was a curse that came on his family. What was the curse? His father David went and slept with Uriah's wife, violated her. She got pregnant. To hide the thing, David killed Uriah. And then a verdict was pronounced that the sword shall not leave your house. Number 2, this iniquity you did in secret has become legalized in your family. Amnon that had a lust and was managing himself because a verdict was pronounced over his family, that willpower was broken. An influence came on him through a wrong friend that advised him. That was how he went to rape his sister. That was how his brother Absalom killed him to bring the sword. The kind of things that unleashed in David's family were things that would have naturally not happened. But when a curse came on the family, because the Plumbline was brought and a verdict was pronounced, evil broke out. There are things that you may have been struggling with, but when there is a foundational legitimacy, all your effort will count for nothing. You will see yourself making decisions you know will kill you, but you will not be able to stop yourself from making those decisions, and then you get destroyed. Because there's a legitimate ground. Are you following me? And that is what I want us to trust God to address today. Family baggages, family issues that people carry. They love God genuinely, but they are slaves. They love God sincerely, they want to serve God sincerely, but they are trapped. They cannot move ahead, they cannot move forward. You see, there is something in the family that makes God very interested, because family is very powerful. There is an advantage that family has, that it will only take a family to make it possible. Let me just give us maybe one or two as we run. Let's look at Matthew chapter 18 verse 19. Let me put two things there. Matthew 18:19. Again I say unto you, that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. If two of you shall agree. If two of you shall agree. Are you following me? Are you listening? If how many of you? If how many of you? Two. You realize that the minimum quota required to establish the purposes of God, to establish the government of God in a territory, is only two witnesses. Do you see that a family meets that quota? A man and his wife. Have you seen why it's almost impossible for husband and wife to agree? They can agree on every other thing until it comes to prayer. Then problem. Even if they want to pray, one will do something that will bruise the other person's spirit, so that even that prayer, there is no liberty. But they will do the prayer religiously, but with what? Grudges that will disqualify the prayer. That's why Jesus said, if, because it's like, will this thing never happen? If two of you shall agree. This makes the family very powerful. There is a minimum requirement to legitimize the purpose of God in a territory, and the family meets that quota. Just two. And that purpose will be established. As touching anything. As touching anything. Jesus said, when you pray, say, our Father who art in heaven, your name be hallowed. Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Why do we need to ask the will of God to be done on earth? The reason is because the will of God is not being done. The will of Satan is what is being done. And we need to enforce it. We need to emphasize for it to be done. We need to insist for it to be done. There are people whose boots must be on the ground to agree for that to be done. Because the psalmist says the heaven, even the heaven of heaven is the Lord's, but the earth has he given to the sons of men. So for God's will to be done here, we have to demand for it. And the unit, the quota, the number of witnesses required is how many? 2. And so if a husband and a wife can make this quota, you will be amazed. You will be amazed at what God can do in a neighborhood, at what God can do in a town, at what God can do in a city. So that's one area that family has so much leverage. A second area that family has leverage is in the next verse. Verse 20. It says, for where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Do you know the implication of this passage with respect to a family? A godly family will be able to secure the divine official resident permit. Did you hear what I just said? Somebody say resident permit. You will not understand the implication of resident permit until you leave Mombasa and go to the next country. Then you will realize that even though all of us are Africans, in fact, you may even leave Mombasa and go to another African country where they speak Swahili. And you say, these people can speak the language of my village people and not have resident permit. After a while, you will see the difference. Do you know what is the most dreadful thing in America right now? They call it ICE. ICE. Somebody say ICE. The fear of ICE. It goes after people without resident permit. Do you realize that this is what we give God resident permit in our earth? They say Mombasa is this, Mombasa is that. Just give him resident permit through your family. If 2 of you are gathered in his name, God doesn't violate international law. God does not violate immigration law. If he is not giving a resident permit, he will not come. This is the reason why Satan is desperate and goes after families, so that he can secure a permanent residency. And there are several processes demons have put in place against the family to legitimize their hold, their claim. Number one is wrong marriages. Wrong marriages. He introduced a wisdom to make us take marriage casual, to take marriage as not something that is a big deal. And that is why a guy and a girl can just move in and start living in. That is resident permit for demons already. And little wonder, have you noticed? Hello? Are you listening to me? Have you sat to ask yourself, why is it that if a man and a woman meet and start cohabiting and start having children, our culture doesn't have big problem? They will just say, just do anything, no problem. Even though that marriage, that union is not recognized as a legal one. But the day you come that you want to do it correctly, there is a word I learned some months ago. They call it lobola. My brother, you have no idea what that word means. Jesus. I went to Botswana. I had to do videos. I saw gigantic cattle. It's cattle, not cow. It's only one of them is a cattle compared to what we have back home. When they name the lobola for you, you will ask yourself again, which one is easier? Won't you want to take the cheaper option, not to marry correctly? I even hear that in some places not far away from here, there are things you will still have to pay long after you have done the marriage. Why is that convoluted? Why is it complicated? Why is it made difficult to do it correctly? It is because Satan have rigged our culture to ensure he secures a hold, so that you will see it easier to do it wrongly and do it wrongly. And that your union, you have given Satan a full permanent residence permit. God cannot come there because Satan owns the grounding of that marriage. So one of the fundamental ways Satan used to compromise the ordination of families is through wrong marriages. So young ladies are made to believe that it's not a big deal. Like we heard this morning, the issue of perversion, the issue of promiscuity. Just have your independence. You see a young lady, she's not even up to 25 years. She already has 5 children, all from different men. Satan needs permanent resident permit. So it makes people to make such loose choices